Welcome to A Well-Designed Business with your host, Luann Nigara. Luann has a lifetime of experience building a multi-million-dollar business with her husband and cousin, and she knows the challenges you face in your interior design business. Luann brings you real-life answers to your most pressing problems, as well as practical strategies to explode your interior design business. So, let's get to the business of interior design.
Hi, welcome to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. I am so happy and delighted to share a true stroke of luck with you. Remember how I told you I sat next to Kelsey Grose of Farmer's Daughter Interiors on the first day of the Design Bloggers Conference, and I said how I was immediately impressed by her poise and her business acumen. Then I found out she won Best New Design Blog, and well, that's when I knew I had to interview her for the show. In fact, that's how I decided to do this whole series on the Design Bloggers Conference. So if you're new to the show today, or if you've been away for a little bit, last Friday, on Power Talk Friday, I did the first show in this series. And what I did was I did a solo show where I discussed the first 3 things that I learned from a well-designed business, which was part of my presentation for the Design Bloggers Conference. And then on Monday, I had an interview with Claire Stasek of Centered by Design, who was also an award winner at the conference. Today is Kelsey, who is an award winner. And then this Friday, I will have the second half of my show, the Power Talk Friday, with the other 3 lessons that I learned from a well-designed business. And then Monday is Amber Lewis of Amber Interiors, who was the keynote speaker, the opening keynote speaker at the conference. So be sure to listen to the whole series. Of course, there's lots of tips on business all throughout. You know me, to make sure we're going to get that stuff in. But here's the thing. It wasn't until I was talking with Kelsey off air before this interview that I learned that she was in business only under a year. So I was already impressed, but this just put me over the top. And despite the fact that she's in business only a year, I think you're going to agree with me that my impression of Kelsey is spot on. She is bright. She is savvy. She's articulate. The icing on the cake was to find out that her design talent is as impressive as her business and her writing talents. In fact, she was just featured last week in Apartment Therapy. How's that for pretty fantastic? So Kelsey is a rare young businesswoman, and my brain was scrambling because I was thinking, how can I continue working with her somehow? Well, I figured it out. We talked about it, and I am so thrilled to let you know that Kelsey will be guest blogging for A Well-Designed Business to the Trade blog on a regular basis. She is going to be sharing her journey, her lessons, and her challenges in getting her brand new interior design firm off the ground. Because, honestly, every week I hear from one of you with a question on how to get new clients when you're new, or how to express confidence to clients when you're new, or what to put on your website when you're new. And these are, legitimate, real challenges for brand new businesses. The list goes on. And guess what? Now we're going to have Kelsey sharing her insights, her strategies, and her victories with us. How awesome is this? I am so excited. I can barely contain it. So here's the thing. Let me tell you a little bit more about Kelsey and her business before we go into her interview. So as I said, her business is called Farmer's Daughter Interiors. She is located in Southwest Saskatchewan, and her style is bright and contemporary with a farmhouse twist. One of the hallmarks of her business is that she employs a 6-step design process when she works with a client, and she discusses that process, thankfully, in this interview, so get your pen and paper handy. And she is quickly building a portfolio of custom residential homes, multifamily developments, and light commercial projects. Kelsey has a bachelor's degree in financial services, and it has been a huge asset in the direction of her firm, and it actually plays to her second passion, which is small business and entrepreneurship. So let's get right to it. I'm going to first tell you a little bit about Cherish, our show sponsor, and then I will be right back with Kelsey. I'd like to thank my sponsor, Cherish, and to let you know about this gem of a resource. Cherish, which can be found at www.charish.com/trade, is the premier online marketplace where design pros just like you can go to source the best vintage decor and furniture. With more than 125,000 curated items for sale, Cherish makes it easy, fun, and fast for you to find stylish pieces at great deals to suit every client and every project. The items are ready to ship, hint, hint, which means no waiting, and Cherish offers a 2-day return policy. Here's some more good stuff. Cherish trade members enjoy special benefits, including cash back on every purchase, white glove delivery, and exclusive concierge service. Sign up for their trade program today at www.cherish.com/trade. Hi, Kelsey. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, Luann. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I have been looking forward to this. I told everybody a couple of weeks ago that quite by accident, we were sitting next to each other at Design Bloggers Conference all day Monday. And it's funny because I remember thinking just the little bits of conversation that we would have in between speakers or whatever. I was absolutely, definitely impressed by you. I just thought this is a smart person out there in the world. And I remember thinking that I was sorry that people kept putting presentations on sometimes so that I could just sit and talk with you. And I was also thinking, oh, I'll run into her later tonight, or I'll run into her in the hallways. And I never once saw you except when we were sitting in the chair.
I know.
It's really funny. So, but, and then of course I wasn't there Tuesday because I had to make my way to Charlotte for the IWCE. And when I found out that you won Best New Design Blog, I was like so thrilled for you. And I just thought that was awesome. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So here's the thing, Kels. Tell me a little bit about your experience being at Design Bloggers Conference. I know that you are fairly new in business, only a year, and we're going to pick that apart. And that's I'm really looking forward to those insights. But just to let people know that you're only in business for a year. And the thing is, what drew you to go to the Design Bloggers Conference, and what did you feel like? What drew you, and were you happy? And share some of your thoughts and insights on that, please.
Well, I found out about the Design Bloggers Conference, and I kept kind of watching it, and I was just wondering if it was something that would be good for me. And I love to learn, and so any chance I get to go to something like this, I love to travel as well. So any excuse I get to travel for work or otherwise, I definitely try and do that. But yeah, some of the speakers that were there, like Shane McGee was one of the keynotes there, and I love her work and her business, and so that was kind of a main drawing card. And then some of the other speakers just looked like awesome presentations. So I thought, yeah, I should go to it, and I'm really glad that I did. I think it was really helpful. It was probably more beneficial than I even realized it was going to be, I think.
Okay. In what ways? What did you sort of expect to get out of it, and what do you mean by you think you might have gotten more than you expected?
I think I expected just to get a lot of information, and it was a lot of information. It was some great information. It was a jam-packed schedule, and they just kept it rolling, and there was so much to learn and so many talented speakers. So I definitely did get a lot of information, but I think, even just getting to meet other designers, just talking to other bloggers and things like that, and just being from Saskatchewan in Canada, and I'm in a smaller town, so I just don't have a lot of chances to network. And I think that was something I really overlooked, and that I really did take advantage of at the conference. And there were some really cool things that come from that. I've, met some designers that are in Chicago and things like that, and just been able to form some relationships. And so that was something that I wasn't necessarily expecting, but was really happy that that kind of worked out through the conference.
Okay, so that's good. Yes, I understand that a couple of you have, I was speaking with Claire, and a couple of you have decided to feature what's like a house tour on your blogs, where you put each other's houses up and then you all blog about it. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are planning.
Yeah, we're doing, we're each featuring our homes, our own homes. And so the first one is actually coming up shortly. That'll be Doreen Corrigan's house, and she's a design blogger as well. But yeah, there's 5 of us that are going to just do a tour on on everybody's blog. So we're going to share photos of our own homes, and then it'll be shared on the 5 respective blogs as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. They're a great group of girls, and it's just been really fun getting to know them. And I can't wait to see their homes.
And I'm curious, I don't recall if I asked Claire, how did you girls come together? Were you sitting together? Did you, like, what connected you? How did you find each other?
Well, Claire, I met Claire. She also won an award in another category.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a little photo op after, and we kind of met, and we had actually met the night before at a dinner, just kind of randomly. And so she was there, and we just got chatting and introduced ourselves. And she's a friend of Bryn Olson's, who I had just met previous to that. So Bryn kind of introduced us. And then the other ladies I didn't get a chance to meet at the conference, but almost feel like I know them now through interacting through social media and things like that.
Interesting. That's very good. I love it. I love it. And the thing about this is that this is fun for you to do as a group, and it's great for you to support each other as a group. But this is also a legit marketing thing for you girls as for your blogs, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's great for SEO, to have things featured on other websites and that are authentic. That's kind of what I aim for, is rather than just dropping links on other people's blogs, I think it's better to form relationships and kind of have a more authentic interaction with other bloggers and designers.
So I don't even know if you know the answer to this question. I've not prepped you with it, but it just brought a question to mind. Do you have any experience to know that if the SEO and the value of this cross promotion is diminished at all by blogs that charge you to be on their blog? Do you know those opportunities exist? You're aware of that?
Right.
Do you have any idea?
I'm not sure of the answer to that question. I think, I would assume from an SEO standpoint, it would be the same, because a link is a link. I don't know if they can tell if it's a paid for link or not, but I really am not sure of the answer to that question.
Right. It seems to me that it would be the same as well, because, the Google little, crawly things doesn't know that somebody wrote a check through the mail.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I would think. But
okay. But of course, this is so much broader. You got 5 people together. You're going to now be featured on 4 other blogs, and, all of their readers and everything. And so, but it's just interesting because if you don't know anybody, that is something that's available out there. There are people out there that just charge to do a guest post on their blog. And I don't see anything wrong with it myself if it fits your demographic and so forth. But of course, it's nice to do it this way as well. So, okay. So tell me, before we go into your design business and really pick apart the challenges that you face as somebody that really just opened so recently, let's talk a little bit more about this award-winning blog, okay? So tell me about the beginning of the blog. In other words, give us a little, was it the chicken or the egg? Was it like, I have a design business and I should blog in order to create some notice and some marketing for that business? Or is it, I just love this and this is what I'm going to do, and if it works for marketing, terrific. Tell us a little bit about that, Kelsey.
Well, it's kind of both, I would say. I started them together, my design business and the blog, kind of in conjunction, kind of at the same time. And so my very first blog post that I wrote was the story of my business and why it's called Farmer's Daughter Interiors. And so I just felt like I really wanted to just articulate that story right off the bat, so people had a place to just learn about why, what that story is and why it's called that. And so that was my first blog post. And I wish I had more time to blog. It is something that I really do enjoy. I really actually enjoy the writing aspect of it and the photography too. I would like to, write more original content for sure. But it's also a place where, without having a really developed portfolio right off the bat, I think it's a good platform to be able to kind of develop the aesthetic of your brand that you want to work towards. And so for me, that was a big part of it as well, why I started writing blog posts.
Okay. And so, man, there's 2 things in there. I hope I don't forget one or the other. The first thing in there is that I don't know that anybody has ever suggested that as a good idea for a new designer to create some marketing awareness for themselves and create an identity as far as their design aesthetic without having created that yet. In other words, I get questions from designers all the time saying, could you please ask people how they get their business off the ground? Could you please ask people what you put on your website if you don't have any portfolio yet, or your portfolio is very thin? And I don't know that anybody's ever said that. And so just so I make sure I understood it clearly, what you're saying is that in the beginning, you certainly cannot take, nobody's ever going to take somebody else's work and put it on their website. But if you put somebody else's work in your website in a blog post and you describe it's this person's work and this is what I like about it and this is how it is, now it's telling the public and the potential clients about you, your personality, what you are as a designer, but it's giving them the eye candy pictures. Is that what you're talking about, Kels?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. And for sure, absolutely giving credit where it's due and never
Right.
taking someone else's work. Absolutely. But that is a big part of it too. But I think the way I approached it was using, inspiration that I would find online to write an article from. So I think one of the first posts I wrote, it was last summer, was just about how to spruce up your front door for spring or something like that. So I found, 5 or 6 photos of, things that I thought were great about a front door, whatever, add a planter here, paint your door out here, like A versus B, that type of thing. And use it as a platform to kind of showcase your expertise and just develop your voice a little bit into what you can do with interior design. It was a really practical post, like aimed at helping people just inexpensively, take that part of their house or their exterior and just update it without, spending a lot of money or a lot of time. So
okay. And the images you just got from Pinterest or whatever, or Houzz, and then you just credited the people, or was it what do they call that? Oh, that's that word, free photography, royalty free. Yeah. Yes.
no, I would find pictures on Pinterest or Houzz and just credit like the architect or the designer on it, or where I got the images from. But yeah, I would find images that I kind of knew the points that I wanted to hit. And so then I would find images that portrayed that.
I love that. I love that a lot. That's a great tip. I love that tip. Okay, so we're not even into tips yet. We're still talking about your blog. But we're talking about tips for the blog too. So that's cool. Okay, so all right. So you start your business, your blog coincides with it. How did you know how to make such a beautiful blog? I mean, honestly, I've gone through the blog posts, and it seems to me like I was very surprised to know that you're only in business 1 year. Like you look very seasoned. Certainly your work looks very seasoned. That one project, the Milburn Crescent Kitchen, holy moly.
That turned out really well.
That's beyond me that's a 1 year interior designer. Honestly, Kelsey, hats off to you on that. That is truly beautiful. And everybody should go to your website and take a look at that. But the blog itself, the way that it's laid out and the way that, did you study more successful blogs? Did you read about blogging? Did you get blogging for dummies at Barnes & Noble? Like, how did you come out of the gate with such a great blog?
I think a lot of it plays to just being kind of literally obsessed with design. So I've loved design for a long, long time now. When other kids in high school and stuff were reading YM magazine and whatever, the teen gossip magazines, I was reading Style at Home and House and Home and things like that. I've just been a huge fan of design for a long time and just really watched it really closely. And so I know what I like, and I think my aesthetic is really developed. And so I just like to reflect that kind of in the blog. And I knew I wanted my website to be very clean, very crisp, kind of modern, and yet to be like warm and welcoming. And so I created it all through Squarespace, actually.
Okay.
Which was a lot of work, but it was fairly simple to do. And I knew I wanted to create it myself just because I knew I would always be updating it and changing things. And I just wanted that flexibility. And so I kind of taught myself lots of Google searches and YouTube videos and tutorials, like Squarespace tutorials and things like that. So everything that's on there, I did, but it's been fun. I actually really enjoy that process too. So it's all just been a lot of fun to build and to change. And yeah, I love that I have the freedom to change it anytime I want.
Yeah, it's really very well done. Well, clearly it's been recognized as the best new design blog. So, but I think that's terrific. I love it. And what I thought was interesting was, this is going to sound crazy to probably everybody listening, but when you're reading a blog post and then all of a sudden there's like a close-up of a flower or, some random thing. I think one of the pictures was, maybe it might have been from the Milburn Crescent kitchen. It was a picture of the table, but it was a close-up of some greenery on the table. And you really just see the table surface, not even the full table, and the greenery. And that sort of, am I remembering it from the right post?
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. So that sort of, I have to tell you, when I see that, what happens in my brain is I go, how does somebody so new at this know to put that up there? Like, I would think that, I don't know. It just seems to me that as you would be like, well, the whole table isn't there. They want to see the whole table. Like, why am I talking about interior design and I have a close up on greenery? But it is such a beautiful picture. So there is this aesthetic that is happening that I guess, like you said, you've been cultivating it for years.
Yeah, and well, the project you're referring to is a kitchen project. So sometimes those can feel a little bit cold or a little bit sterile if they're not styled and accessorized. And so I think those close-up shots just really help to give it some personality and some relatability to anybody who's looking at it. So it just makes it feel like somebody lives there.
Yeah. Okay, I love it. So let's dig a little deeper then into starting this business. So we have this suggestion to have the blog because you can feature your aesthetic and you can do some teaching and so forth like that. What other things have you done in the last year to launch? Well, first, let's just go back for a second. Your degree is in finance, right?
Yes, it is. It is in finance.
Okay. So, and you don't even have a degree in interior design. Is that correct?
No
that's
no
beyond,
design degree.
That's beyond me. I mean, of course, we all know hobby decorators, and we all know that they can create beautiful work. But I mean, even you have so many beautiful projects, but that kitchen is beyond me. That's somebody without a design degree. How did you even know how to design cabinetry and do all that stuff without a degree?
I had done a few projects of my own. Like, my husband and I had completely renovated our own house, so I had that whole process start to finish. Had done that before, and I think just watching and just being able to help people kind of through that process. And I don't know.
You worked for any other designers before opening your own firm, Kelsey?
Yes, I did work for a design firm in Calgary for a short period of time, and that was a great experience, actually. I learned lots. I wasn't really in a design position, but it was a very small firm, kind of an up-and-coming firm, and so I got to be involved in a lot of different aspects of their projects, and I got to see firsthand, kind of up close, how they were running their projects and things like that. Okay. So that was just a really great experience, and learned lots from them.
So would you say that it's your company has jumped up so quickly and successfully is attributable to the fact that you actually have a solid business background and the design is a passion and a love, and it's been cultivated through years of reading and then your own projects and so forth, but the business background is the thing that informs the fact that you run it well and it's been successful so soon?
I think so. I think that plays hugely into it. Through my degree, we were taught marketing and business management and business communications and all those types of things. And so I have a real passion for all those things as well. And so I really enjoy the marketing part of it. I really enjoy, writing ads or developing my Instagram feed or whatever it is. And so I've really focused on all those areas, not just on the design. And so I think that probably does contribute to it as well.
Mm-hmm. Because you could imagine somebody with the same path on just the design side, being completely immersed in it, growing up, can be completely immersed in always being happy and ready and willing to read more and more and more about it, doing their own little renovations and things here and there. But just coming to it with that end of it, it's missing a whole component. I mean, that's the whole point of the podcast, that you have to bring the business component to it. So I think that a lot of times I get questions from designers. They email me and they say, ask young designers, ask new designers how they get their, what do they do to show their portfolio? What do they do to get clients? And I feel like a lot of times they're forgetting that they have to sit down and get the business part set up. Then the things can be filtered in. There's the systems and there's the ways that the projects are going to work, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, so important.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about, so you have a business background, but now you have to make an interior design business out of it. What are some of the things that you have done in the last year that you would say to the people that email me all the time? Sarah just emailed me recently and she asked me, find out what they do in the beginning. She's like, so take us back. It's not like sometimes, I ask this of other guests and they have to go back in their brains to like 20 years ago.
That's right.
So go back 6 months ago. So, I mean, one of the specific things is that Sarah recently asked me, ask someone who has started their business without having worked for a senior designer for many years. So you worked for a designer for a time, but I didn't get the impression that it was any great long stretch.
No, it wasn't. It was just short, like a year about.
Okay. So what are we going to tell Sarah? What are some of the things that you can sit back and think in the last year that you've done, Kelsey?
I would say start sharing photos of your own home. Like, just get something out there. First of all, get a website right away. Like that, to me, that's something that's so worth investing in, whether you do it yourself or you have someone build it for you. I think that's just hugely important. Interior design is so visual. Like, people need a place to go to look at your stuff and see who you are and investigate you. And so the first thing I would say to do is build a website or get a website.
Okay.
And then, of course, you need something to put on it, which I think is the question. A lot of people, what do I put on it if I'm brand new and I don't have a big portfolio? And so I would say start sharing photos of your own home. Like, if you have a home that's done the way you want it, get it photographed, whether you have a great camera and you do it yourself or bring in, a professional photographer, get some great photos and put that on your website. And if you don't have a home that's done, maybe you have one room, or maybe build a little vignette of something that, you can just do with a chair and a lamp and a table, and it doesn't have to be a huge, full house tour type of a thing. But just get some great photos and put them on your site. That would be the first thing.
Okay. And you know what? The point is well made, because you have a picture that where you really only see the tabletop and some greenery. So, yeah. Right. So, okay. So you really don't have to have, this fully executed 10,000 square foot house that's been appointed to the T. You can create little spaces that highlight your aesthetic. Yeah,
absolutely. For sure. It doesn't have to be a massive, big mansion, for sure. You can use whatever you have. You can use a room, or just make sure your photos have great light and they're, professional, or they look professional, and make sure that that's kind of the way that you want to go with your aesthetic that you want to develop, your brand that you want to develop. Make sure your photos are going to speak to the direction you want to go with your brand.
Okay. And the reason for that is because you put out there the type of client and work that you want to attract and do. So if what you know what I mean? In other words, that's what You're saying. It aligns with your brand, because if you are not interested in really designing children's rooms as a living, then don't post your kids' nurseries, because
that's right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And especially design style too. I mean, if you're not interested in doing really traditional projects, then don't post a really traditional room. Stick to something in the aesthetic that you want to develop, because that's what's going to come back to you for clients.
Okay. And then the other point is, however painful it may be and however long it may take you to save the money for it, the point is to put the best quality photographs that you can afford to do.
Yes, absolutely. Whether it's like buying a camera, there, for $500, you can get a pretty nice DSLR, camera. And it doesn't take a lot to learn them, or you can hire a photographer, or just put your best foot forward, because that's, especially in the beginning, I think it's just so important I know you're building, and you're definitely going to change it as you get projects and they develop into other things. It doesn't have to be something that's going to stay on your website for forever, but just get something up there that looks professional.
Right. I love it. Now, how about have you had situations, like, I'm curious, how is that kitchen project? That's a significant project, Kelsey. Was that a stranger? Was that an acquaintance? Was that a family member? I mean, that's a pretty significant project for any designer, let alone a first-year designer.
Yeah, that was a complete stranger that found me. I can't remember how I don't know if she found me through my site or through Facebook. I get quite a few leads through Facebook. But yeah, that was a complete stranger, complete new client that called me.
That's amazing. So Colleen has asked me to find out, what do you say to potential clients when you don't have a lot of experience to back up the confidence you have in executing a job? So when you were, when this client came to you, was there any moment that so she comes to you through your aesthetic, through your Facebook or whatever it was. So, but once she meets you, was there any moment that you were aware that she was like, whether she expressed it or you just inferred it, oh, you mean you're only in business X amount of months, I wonder if you have the chops to pull this off? Or she never picked that up, or she never knew it, you were just confident and you just rolled through?
I'm not sure if she knew how new I was at it when she first phoned me, but we started with just a consultation. So that's usually how I start most of my projects. So she really just hired me she had a bunch of hardwood samples out and just was feeling she wanted a dark kitchen and she really loved a light kitchen and just was feeling really maybe overwhelmed with just the amount of choices that she was facing. And so she called me just for a consultation. So we started with that. And then I think through getting yourself in front of people, I think it comes down to just the way you articulate yourself, what you dress, like how you how you can show them information and give them useful information through that first interaction, that they are going to feel like you have the confidence and the ability to execute their project.
Did she ever ask you how many years you were in business, or asked to see a portfolio of completed projects before she signed with you, Kelsey?
No, she didn't. No.
Okay, so she understood that you were capable through the presentation, that it didn't even occur to her to double check or ask about.
Yeah, I guess so. It actually surprises me how little people ask to see a portfolio. But I guess, there's websites and stuff. People, I'm sure, vet you completely through your website before they even call you. Yes. I do anyway before I call someone. So I'm imagining she did that. But yeah, there wasn't a whole lot on there. So yeah, no, she never asked me that directly.
Okay. And how did you, and if you're still doing it the same or have you changed, but the initial consultation was in that particular case, was it you expected it, not that you didn't expect it to grow, but I mean, in other words, it was contracted for a one-off consultation visit. It was a paid consultation visit?
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
I never expected it to turn into a full kitchen reno.
Okay. But you charged her for that visit. Do you also have a free consultation that you'll do as an exploratory, or do you go right to it's a paid consultation visit?
I go right to it's a paid consultation visit. And that's something I learned from Kimberly Selden, who has the business of design. And she's big on that. Like,
yes.
Don't hold back information in that first consultation because it's a free consultation. So a lot of people might think, oh, it's free, but then I don't want to tell them all my secrets or tips or whatever. You have to hire me for that.
Right. I agree. Yeah, I know Kimberly is amazing, and she's just absolutely brilliant at coaching interior designers. And I know that that's her philosophy. And I was just wondering if I didn't. So have you been through her courses? I mean, you're familiar with, obviously, the business of design.
Yeah, totally. I've been a member with her for quite a while and take courses whenever I get the chance, and have found it super helpful. So I definitely recommend, if you're starting out or if you're new at it, just learn as much as you can, whether it's through this podcast or other podcasts, or just soak up all the information you can, and then, filter it. It's not that you can go running around and take everybody's advice. You can't take everybody's advice because it doesn't necessarily apply to you, but filter it through what you want, your brand and your business to look like, and then apply it soon to your business for sure. That's kind of what I did.
Now, so was it the sort of thing, Kelsey, where you knew from going through Kimberly Selden's course that a good course of action, a good way to launch your business is to just start with charging for the consultation? Was it that, or were you first not charging and doing that whole free and not wanting to give up information, and then you learned it from her, or did you learn it from her? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I had been doing lots of research and kind of investigating before I technically launched my business. And so right from the get-go, I knew that's how I wanted to do it because months before I had been learning and kind of soaking this all up and developing all this before I kind of hit go.
Interesting. That's smart. Okay. And then do you have any problem sharing what your consultation fee is?
That's $195.
Okay. 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 And
Usually only takes an hour and a half kind of thing. And so, depending on the project, we can go through one room or we can end up going through the whole house or whatever we can kind of get done in that period of time. And it's just free reign, whatever they want to know or ask, or if they've got samples that they're choosing between, sometimes we go through that. But oftentimes I find that can turn into a bigger project.
Right. And how about the fee of $195? Have you, as a new designer, had any pushback on that amount, or you just stand in your space on it, or it seems to be a sweet spot number that people just accept and pay? Because I know that designers have agita around setting this initial consultation fee. And of course, once you're out in the world and you've got 5 or 6 years under your belt, then we expect you to stand in your space and charge, more than that even. But as a new person, how did you feel about putting that number out there? And did you have situations where people would say, I thought it would be free, or that seems like a lot of money? Anything experiences with that?
I think to get to that point, it's definitely something that I would probably like to increase within the next 6 months. But I think starting out, that's a place where I wanted to start. And I wouldn't say I've had a lot of pushback with it. I haven't had everybody that's contacted me go through and hire me for the consultation. But I kind of find if people aren't comfortable with that number, then it's probably not going to turn into a larger project necessarily. And I think that that's a good place to start for a lot of people because you can get a lot of valuable information out of that consultation. We can get a lot of stuff done in that hour or hour and a half. And for some people, that's all they need. And it's perfect for that. I mean, Some people just want you to come in and pick paints, right? And then that's all we do. And they're so happy that they've got, designer paint palette for their whole house. And
exactly. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, I actually think it's a reasonable amount. I'm glad to hear that it's as much as it is for somebody in business under a year, actually. You know what I mean? But I don't think when you think about the exchange of ideas that, like you said, can happen in an hour and a half, it's really not a lot of money. And I also love that you said, if somebody is balking at that amount or chooses not to spend that amount, then they're not your market. They're not your client anyway. They really do need to be doing it completely themselves through their own research on Houzz or Pinterest and pictures and stuff, because $195 just is not a lot of money to get a professional's advice for an hour and a half.
That's exactly what I thought.
Yes, agree. Okay, I love that. So now, how did you... tell me about the process. Again, I know Kimberly Seldon talks about scope creep. Is that the words that she uses? Scope creep, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we had a show where she specifically went into if she's there to be speaking about the kitchen and the client brings her over into the guest bedroom and starts asking her 15 questions there, that she sends an invoice out that says, here's your 1 hour invoice for the guest bedroom consultation. And I love it. I get it. It makes a lot of sense. My question is, do you do that? Do you, as a new designer, have you ever experienced I know Kimberly says to do it and I know I should do it, but can I do it? And so, and I guess where I was originally starting the question was, you say an hour and a half. Have you had the situations where it's going on 2 hours and they are taking advantage, and how do you escape from that? How are you handling that whole thing? Because I think as a new business person, those are some of the challenges.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't had a whole lot of, scope creep because it is kind of that flat fee. And so people really are free to walk you through their whole house if they want. I mean, I don't care. We can talk about the backyard if you want.
But past the hour and a half, though, right?
But past the hour and a half, yeah. I guess I just try and keep it, kind of wrap it up around that time if I feel like it's going longer. If it's going to an hour and 45, not a huge deal. If we're going to get past that, then I would usually say, you know what, we've got a lot of information here. Maybe we'd be better off to book another appointment and revisit. Because actually, I find a lot of people, get kind of exhausted around that hour and a half, 2 hour mark. It's a lot of information for people to take in. And they're kind of get this glazed look on their face where, they're just information overload. And so, and for me too, right? I'm not at my freshest and my best, maybe at that 2 or 3 hour point, right?
Right. Exactly.
So, I think it's just smarter just to say, you know what, let's meet again. Let's revisit this. We've done this room. We're talked about this thing. Let's revisit this, next week or whatever.
And if they want just another follow-up visit, they can sign on for another $195. Like they're still not committing to a full-on scope project, but you can just do that. You suggest, let's just do another visit. It looks like you have more to discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I had a kitchen a few months ago where, she really actually enjoyed the whole kitchen planning process, and she already had a carpenter that was making her cabinets and things like that, but just wanted to bring someone else in just to look through all her decisions and kind of help her point her in the right direction and just to kind of oversee. But she didn't really want to do the whole project or need to do the whole project, together from start to finish. And so that worked really good for her, where we just booked 2 or 3 different consultations. We'd pop in, it'd be like maybe 3 weeks between, she'd have a few more things picked or ordered or whatever. She'd be deciding between certain colors, and we just pop in and out and do it that way. So that worked great.
That's great. Now, in that sort of environment where you're not really proprietary to that design, you're giving her advice. No. She's probably taking some of it when you leave, and then other things she might change 2 days later after the visit. Do you ask to take photographs of a project like that, Kelsey, or is that sort of not really, the etiquette there?
That one, I haven't contacted her for photos just because I feel like a lot of the design was her development. Mm-hmm. I was thinking maybe about doing a blog post with it and not using it as a portfolio because I don't really feel comfortable using it in my portfolio. But I think it might be a great, blog post kind of before and after of her kitchen and how we walked through it and how it was helpful to her just to bring someone in those few meetings, maybe get some Q&A from her. So
That's a smart way to repurpose that. That's terrific.
Yeah, because I'd like to use that content for sure. And I think it turned out really great. And she was just super happy with it. So I think, I would like to use that content, but don't want to use it in my portfolio.
I love it. I think that's awesome. So tell us anything else that I might not be thinking of that you can say, you're completely forgetting this and this was so hard.
So hard about starting a business?
Yes, about the last year, about the challenges you in the last year. Have you you don't strike me after having met you in person and talking to you now, you don't strike me as the type of person that has a hard time with scheduling or systems, but can you talk about that a little bit?
I think I'm by myself, so I'm a solopreneur. So I think the challenge is just finding time to do everything. So that I guess that is a challenge in scheduling, is that just keeping up with emails and moving appointments and booking things. But no, I use Google Calendar that's linked with my Gmail account, and it just works really seamlessly. It's really important to be organized for sure. So that's something that I just need. And so, totally. It's not too hard to book appointments, but I think.
And you have developed your own 6-step process for the design process. I understand. I saw that on your website.
Yeah, for sure. I did lots of research, and Kimberly Selden's, Business of Design was really helpful with that too. She's got a 15-step process, and I basically kind of took some information from that, condensed it down to something I felt was maybe more applicable to my market here, and made it into a 6-step process. So I've got, it just makes it really easy for people to follow along and just know how it's going to work and what they can expect. So that's something that I give to them, before we start a project. If they're going to, not just the consultation, but, if it's going to move into a full project, then I would give them that information, go through it with them, just so they have an idea of what to expect.
Is it something that the 6 steps are something you could share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. The first one is just the initial consultation. So usually, even if right from the bat they know they want to do a full project, we always start with just an initial consultation where I'm getting a feel for them, what they want to achieve through the project, and just, their whatever the design limitations might be, the scope of the work, things like that, and taking measurements sometimes. So it kind of starts with an initial consultation. And step 2 would be design development. So that's kind of where I go back, take the information that they've given me, put together kind of most of the design for them, whether it's a kitchen layout, whether it's a furniture layout in a living room, things like that. And usually involves like a floor plan, and some basic, design elements, kind of just a general direction of where they want to go.
Okay.
That's usually where I incorporate like a design board. So I'll put that in there, especially for doing furniture, where it just gives them a real visual of kind of the direction that their project is heading based on what they've told me. And yeah, from there we would move into like material selection. So I would meet with them from there, go through the design board with them, make sure we're, on target for what they want to achieve and everything. If it all looks good, we'd move into material selections. So with hardwood, cabinets, countertops, things like that.
Okay. And then are you charging for each step along the way? So do you still, even if somebody says, I want to hire you to execute this whole project, are you saying, okay, first it's the consultation, that's $195. Next, it's the design development, that's XYZ price. Do you have each step priced separately? So in case the project stops along the way, how do you handle that?
Oh, so after the consultation, if they want to move into a project, it just goes to hourly from there. So
okay, so everybody is
rate.
starting with the $195, no matter what they think they want to do, and then after the consultation, you have a letter of agreement or whatever, and then you go to an hourly rate.
Exactly, that's where we look at a letter of agreement, like look at bringing us on as more of a partner in the project, and then that just goes from an hourly rate from there.
Okay, so then we get the letter of agreement signed. We go into design development. Then we have a meeting. They approve design development. Then we have another meeting. We go to material selections. I'm assuming there's another meeting. They approve material selections. What's 4, 5, and 6?
That's right. 4 is source and specify. So that's where if we're looking at other things in the project like furniture, window treatments, just sourcing more unique light fixtures, for example, kind of the fixtures of the project. That's where I would source those.
Okay.
And I usually put together like an items list for them, tweak my design board along the way, of course, so that it's still on par if we've made any changes or they still have that really great visual. A lot of times I revisit that. I'll, reprint it for them, look at it again with them, and just make sure that we're all kind of on target. And then after they approve that, we go into step 5, which is purchasing and construction. So we're making those purchases. Lots of times now we're into the demolition phase. Things have started getting put back together. And then that's obviously a long process. So there's no real timeline for any of this. It could be, it could be 1 or 2 months, or it could be 6 months or 9 months, whatever it ends up being. And then the last step, once everything's kind of all done, we would do installation and styling. So where we'd bring in the furniture, do an install day. And then that's where at the end of that, I would hopefully photograph the project.
Okay. And do you tell them up front that you are planning to and expect to photograph on pretty much the day or the week of install day?
Yes, it's in my letter of agreement.
Right. Okay. I have had a lot of well-seasoned designers say that needs to be the case. You don't want to go back, 2-3 weeks later because it's not going to look like the way you left it.
No, that's right.
Okay. All right. So I love that process. Tell me now just a little bit about the actual marketing in addition to your blog. You mentioned that you have had success with Facebook. How have you had success with Facebook? What are you doing? Do you have a Facebook business page? Do you have just that? Do you have a group, a private group? What do you do?
I have a Facebook business page for sure. And I think, quite a few of my leads would be generated from that Facebook business page. I think, my target demographic would be, women between 35 and 55 kind of thing. And a lot of those women aren't on Instagram, I find, at least in my area. But they are on Facebook.
They're on Facebook, yes.
They're on Facebook, and it's so visual. So just putting up photos of projects and, sharing blog posts and things like that. Facebook just has the potential to really take something and just grow it exponentially. So I've had a couple posts where they'll get shared and all of a sudden you start to build some traction, and pretty soon, 2,500 people have seen it when, it just has that potential to really grow.
And so what are you saying? So you started out with a Facebook business page, probably just, you, your mom and your 3 girlfriends are all liked your page, right?
Right.
So are you saying that you just build it and they will come if you just put quality pictures, quality content, quality, advice out there? one person tells another person? It literally happens that way? Or did you do targeted ads to, like you said, your 35 to 55 demographic and maybe in your 25-mile radius of your business? Like, how did you, because I don't even know how many people you have following your business page, but if you're getting business from it, it really doesn't matter if it's 10 or 1,000, because if the business is coming, it's coming. So how did you get awareness beyond just the people who knew you?
Yeah, it's still definitely in the building phase for sure. I think there's about 800 and some people on there right now.
Oh my God, that is actually amazing though, for a year business. Oh my God.
It's still growing for sure.
Holy crap.
But I think the first thing I did when I built it is when you open your page, you can invite people to like this page or whatever it's called. And so I did that right away. So I went through my whole friends list, basically anybody that I thought was applicable or might enjoy it, I invited them. So that was a couple hundred people right there, right off the bat, that I kind of had on board. And then I did do targeted ads for sure. That's been, it's tough to measure the, usually you get a few kind of likes from that and things like that. But I think it definitely helps to get your name out there. And it's nice that you can target in areas that aren't necessarily your home area, or you can be very specific with your demographic that you want to target. So, and it's really affordable to do that. So I did do that for sure. Okay. I think that contributed to it as well. But I think just people, organic growth of people sharing posts, commenting on things, other people see it and jump on board. And I think that really is a big part of it, just that organic growth for sure.
Well, and it really has to be as a result of the content of what you're doing. I have to believe Absolutely. That, because 800 people in under a year is pretty remarkable. So what are you doing?
Careful.
Yeah, you're very careful about what?
I'm very careful what I put on there. Like it's all very intentional. I'm not one of those people that's on there 4 or 5 times a day just posting absolutely everything. Maybe that works for some people and that's great, but that's just not me. So I'm just very intentional with what I put on there. I don't do personal stuff. Anything that goes on there, the quality of the photography has to be fantastic. It has to be professional. I use it as a professional page.
Okay. So that's interesting. So there's no like I'm at the tile store picking and I just snapped something on my phone and the lighting isn't great and it doesn't matter. You might be at the tile store picking, but unless the photograph is awesome and maybe you teach them, tell us about that little bit there.
Yeah, totally. I might photograph it, and if it's a great, if it turns out good, then I might post it, but usually I don't post it live. Like it's pretty rare that I would take a picture and post it right away. I know a lot of people do that and maybe I should get into more of that, but yeah, I definitely, go back, make sure it looks great, make sure that there's actually a purpose to it, like not just posting things just to post something, make sure that there's something helpful or something about a project or something interesting about it. And then go from there. So yeah, I don't just post things, just without purpose or not good photography.
Okay, so then let's talk about that a little bit. So what you're saying is instead of just here I am at the tile store picking tiles for a project, boom, picture, and even if the picture comes out great, what you're saying is go back home, sit there and edit the pictures, make them look terrific, and then create something about it where you're going to share advice or a tip about being at that store as opposed to I just existed at this store.
Yeah, that's kind of how I've approached it. I think it needs to have a purpose. Not that every picture you post needs to be this big, long, purpose-driven article or anything like that. But I think it should have a purpose, whether that's to direct people to your website, whether that's to, learn more about your company, or you're promoting another local business. So that's something that I've also really done on Facebook. That's really contributed to that as well, is any of my vendors or people that I've worked with, if I have a photo that I can share of their work that looks great, then I do that and tag them in it. And I think that really is reciprocated back too, because then oftentimes they're sharing it and say, look what we did for Farmer's Daughter Interiors. And so then their people are being, sent to your page too. So, and that's just great to promote other local businesses. So that's been something that's been really great too.
That's terrific. I like that. I like that a lot. So what you're saying is the Facebook post might be more, I was at the tile store today and, we were trying to decide what sort of backsplash worked with this or whatever it is. But go back to my website and on the blog, I have more pictures and the how we did it.
Yeah, sometimes. Or like I was at the tile store and here's their website and their information. Check them out. They've got great stuff. I might spin it that way.
Okay.
Because then they're appreciating that too. And they might spin it back to you down the road.
Okay. I love it. I love it a lot. All right. What other things have you done? Now where you are, I'm assuming you're in a fairly rural area. You're the farmer's daughter, for crying out loud.
Fairly rural, yeah, I'd say.
So there must be some, particular challenges with sourcing products for clients when you're not like us, 10 minutes from, 20 stories at the D&D building.
Oh, yep. That's probably one of my biggest challenges here would be getting product and being able to see it in person before the client has to commit to it or before we order it. That would probably be my biggest challenge, I would say.
And how do you overcome that, Kelsey?
It's I think I'm still figuring that one out. I think partnering with, businesses and things that are close by, like we have, a couple really large centers or larger centers within 2 hours drive or 2.5 hours drive. And so finding, retailers and stuff that are in those areas that I can partner with, is really important and something I'm still working at building. But, websites are great about sending out fabric swatches or, sample of tiles or anything like that. And so, just getting samples, like if we're ordering a chair from West Elm, get a sample of the fabric, make sure you see it in person. And then also any chance I get to travel, if I head up to Calgary for the weekend, I'm just buzzing around, in all the home stores, sitting in all the chairs, you know what I mean?
Okay. So it's not easy. It's not
easy.
Right.
It's not easy.
Right,
no.
right. Okay. All righty. I mean, I have to tell you, it's such great information. I'm just trying to think, before I let you go, is there anything else that you could think of to say to somebody who's just like you in their first year in business that would be, a little bit inspirational or not putting you on the spot or anything?
I would say, I guess something that I have kind of subscribed to that maybe I feel like is kind of inspirational is just treat your business. If you're just starting out and you don't know where to go with it, or you're just feeling like, maybe no one's watching, just treat it like the world is watching you. Develop your website like somebody in New York might see it, even if you're in a small town, just treat it like, I guess, put your best foot forward, no matter if you think people are watching or not, because the reality is they are, and you don't know where it could go. It could go somewhere really amazing. And so it could go way beyond the borders
Design Bloggers Award.
You could win the Design Bloggers Best New Design Blog Award. You could. And so just put your best foot forward and just keep putting yourself out there. And it could just go beyond the borders of your small town or your area that you're in. So that would be one thing.
I love it. Rachel Moriarty said that on the show too, many, many months ago. She said the same thing. Act as if you are a big guy.
Act as if.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, like,
act as if.
Yeah, and she said the same thing that you just said. She said, you might be somebody that's doing it as a side hustle. it's your full-time business, but wherever you're at. But she said the same thing. Put it out there like it's a big business, and that that, like you just said, that people are watching, and you're the proof in that. She also is the proof in it, by the way. She's also had just this insane trajectory of success in the last 7 or 8 months, and hats off to her. She really is something else. But you're also that exactly what, here you have this blog. It's under a year old, right? And it's already won an award because you took it very seriously. You took it as a business arm, a marketing arm of your business, and you didn't just say, well, I'm brand new, so I can just, make it look like this and I'll get better at it later. And I also appreciate and understand and think it's terrific that you spent months researching and preparing yourself before you actually opened the business and had sort of your ground rules, and you had done your courses at Business of Design, and you'd watched the videos and the webinars and so forth. I did the same thing with the podcast. I spent 6 months researching it, outlining it, listening to and watching every webinar and course I could on it before I did it too. And I also hired outside coaching consultants on the podcast, just like you hired and paid for the Business of Design, because I always say it's not a hobby. It's a business. Run it like a business.
It's not a hobby. Exactly.
You guys know what I want to do if I have time for a hobby. I'm going to yoga. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not going to turn into a business if you treat it like it's not. So
exactly.
Yeah, treat it like a business.
I love it. I love it, Kelsey. I have to tell you, I say it to you again. I was super impressed with you in that very first morning that when we sat down and happened to sit down next to each other. And I just wish you all the best of luck. And I'm just so excited get to know you and to watch this grow even further. And what you'll have to do is you'll have to plan to come on in like a year or a year and a half and tell us, well, then this happened and then that happened, and how you can, what you have to do? You have to come on when you have to have you have a staff now, and you're like, okay, Luann, now it's completely different.
I'll call you.
Okay, definitely.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Luann. It was so great to meet you at that conference, and I just really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit, and feel like I already know you from listening to your show all the time.
That's it, right? Thanks, Kelsey. Have a great day.
Thanks. Same to you, Luann.
How about that? Less than 1 year in business, and Kelsey already has an award-winning blog, a feature in apartment therapy, a guest blogging position with a well-designed business, a cross-promotion blog tour with veteran bloggers, and a portfolio of work that any 10-year veteran of the interior design business would be proud of. How did she do it? Well, let's start with her background. Okay, so she's got a background in finance, which informs how to run a well-designed business. She said that she spent several months looking into researching and figuring things out before she opened her doors. She took part in Kimberly Seldon's Business of Design. She has their courses. She does the different things and learns the tips and the techniques on how to run a good business. And then, of course, there is her passion for the field. She said that she spent her entire life reading magazines and refining her aesthetic. Okay, so all of that is the basis. Then let's talk about the benefits of attending the Design Bloggers Conference. Of course, the obvious, winning Best New Blog. Let's just go there. How about meeting Claire, Centered by Design, Doreen Corrigan, Bria Hamill of Bria Hamill Interiors, and Meredith Rodet of View from My Heels. I mean, these are, in some cases, veteran bloggers with a lot more experience than her, and now she's swimming in their pool, and that's pretty awesome, okay? Don't forget all of the breakout sessions that she went to and the tips and advice on Instagram and on Google Analytics, all things that help her business move forward. And the thing about attending a conference is that it's more than just the fluff, okay? That's the thing. And you do get these meaningful connections, these meaningful friendships. You make business alliances that can help propel your firm, let alone the actual advice and lessons that you learned from the sessions. So I would never, ever want any of you to invest in traveling to a conference that it would take a financial investment that is above what you can handle. That's, you don't do that. But maybe when you sit down and you plan out your year, you budget it in the way you would budget in advertising or, rent and utilities. Put it out as an intention, because there are a lot of really good things that come when you put yourself out there like this to let the universe have things happen for you. Okay? So, all right. I would love for you to begin to email questions that you would like to have Kelsey address on our blog. Email them to questions@windowworksnj.com. Now, I know a lot of you reach out to me through private messaging on Facebook and Instagram. And that's awesome. But I have to say, when it's all fun and games, that's terrific. But when you guys reach out to me in those ways that are things that you're asking me to do, asking me to find out for you, it's tough. It's tough for me to keep track of, 15 different platforms and what's happening where. So anything that you need me to do something with, more than, hey, high five, or a simple question that's not business related, I would love for you to all start directing them to questions@windowworksnj.com. The problem with the communication through the back pages of social media is I'm the only one that sees it. And if I see it in the middle of my day and I'm busy and I think, oh yeah, I have to do that, then boom, 8 hours later, it's pushed down the feed or it's pushed down the messages. And then, it's like 2 weeks later. And then I remember that, oh, somebody reached out. So if you send questions to Kelsey or to me at questions@windowworksnj.com, they will get handled there. And I would appreciate that a lot. because I do love hearing from you guys and knowing what kinds of questions you want to know. It's helpful to me, too, when I just have the guests on the show. All righty. Now, I want to tell you, pretty interestingly, I, about 2 or 3 months ago, started sending out a questionnaire to the guests before they come on the show. Just things to get their brain clicking. You know me, I hardly ever go through questions one by one in order, but just things to be prepared and get the brain thinking about the types of things we might discuss. And it was interesting because I don't expect it back with the answers. 1 or 2 people have asked me if they should, and I've said, no, it's just for your benefit. But interestingly, Kelsey actually answered everything and emailed it back to me without asking me if she needed to do that. And it's so darn good that I decided to include it in our show today. So if you want to get a copy of this, it has a lot of insights on her first year in business. The things I learned from Kelsey. Head over to www.windowworks-nj.com/Kelsey, KELSEY, and you can get your free PDF of that question and answer. It's pretty interesting. She's a smart lady. I like her. All righty. So I also want to remind you that we are having a lunch and learn at WindowWorks on Monday, May 15th in Livingston, New Jersey with My Doma Studio. Sarah Daniele, the CEO of My Doma Studio, is coming down. It will go from about 12:30 to 2 o'clock, 2:30 maybe, and it is a hands-on, bring your laptop, learn how to use My Doma. If you're not already a My Doma client, don't worry. We can sign you up there for free and you can do your whole workshop there. If you are a My Doma client and you're wondering if you're taking advantage enough fully of the platform, this is where to do. Alicia and Sarah are both coming in from Canada. Gail Davis has so generously suggested this to us at WindowWorks and is sort of overseeing all of this, so that's really fabulous. But Kimberly will be there. I'll be there. My husband will probably be around too. And it's going to be a jam-packed 2 or 3 hours. So you do have to RSVP because my showroom is not that big. I mean, it's nice size, but I need to know how many people are coming. We're going to cap this at about 25 or 30 people. Okay. So please head over to our website at www.windowworks-nj.com. Go over to the podcast tab and look for how to RSVP and get involved and be there at the event. All right. Well, that is it for today. I really do truly appreciate your showing up and listening to the show. And I hope you have an excellent day. Thank you for joining me again today for another episode of A Well-Designed Business. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks in Livingston, New Jersey, your trade resource for custom window treatments and awnings. Learn more about WindowWorks at www.windowworks-nj.com. All of our music is original music by Room 2 Productions. Please contact us if you want to learn more about original music for your business or your events.